I'm Brant Menswar, keynote speaker and best-selling author, here to tell you about my new keynote experience, Unbreakable Culture. In the late 15th century, Japanese shogun Ashikaga Yoshimasa sent his favorite broken tea bowl off to be repaired. When it returned, the bowl was held together with these ugly metal staples, and he was more than disappointed with the result. So he asked some local craftsmen to develop a new method of repair that would emphasize the beauty of the broken pieces rather than trying to hide them. The craftsmen grabbed the most valuable resource they had access to, gold, and they used a mixture of lacquer and gold to create a strong adhesive that could be used to glue the broken pieces back together. This technique, called kintsugi, literally translates to golden joinery. Over time, kintsugi became more than just a technique for repairing broken objects. It also became a symbol of resilience and perseverance in the face of adversity. Look, if you want to become an unbreakable leader, there's really only one thing you have to accept. You're already broken. If you can accept that and stop trying to keep things at arm's length so that they won't break you, and rather focus on what's holding the brokenness together, that are deeply held personal core values. I call those our black sheep values. Those are the most valuable resource you possess. Like a black sheep's wool that cannot be dyed, these values do not change and are what make us the true originals we were meant to be. They allow for unique contributions. They're what hold us together during difficult times and what allow us to connect to create an unbreakable culture. I've spent the last 3 years discovering the 5 binding values needed to create and sustain an unbreakable culture. These shared values come from more than 10,000 employees who have taken our assessment, 2.5 years worth of dedicated research, and a deep dive into the psychology of leadership at Cornell University. So you start to see how these 5 binding values work together to actually create that unbreakable culture we're going for. It all starts with connection. That's what we said. It all starts with connection first. So connection is about defining and aligning our networks. We want to have that maximum impact. We move from connection to integrity. We have to create the safe space if people are going to show up. If we can create that safe space and build that emotional culture that we're trying to do, we'll get their authenticity, right? We want unique contribution. Unique contribution only happens when people feel that they have a safe space to show up. If they can do that, we start to move towards the need for personal growth. We start to set goals, not just the end goal, but process goals, right? Making sure we have some sort of feedback mechanism in place so that we start to know when we are doing well. We start to see that we are following that path of personal growth so that we stay engaged at all times. And once we get through that, we really move towards creativity. Not how creative we are, remember. This is more about creating solutions, making sure that we empower people to make decisions. We give them the authority, not just responsibility. If we can do that, they start to engage at a different level. We start to see them reach out to connect with someone else, and then the wheel begins to spin. It becomes a self-sustaining process. And that is how you build an unbreakable culture. Well, when we use what matters most to us as our motivation to connect and drive performance, we move from half-hearted compliance, which nobody wants, to wholehearted contribution, which everybody wants. Then we have to start to build bridges. If we can build bridges between our values and our organizational values, then we can safely cross over whatever potential dangers might actually lurk below, all the while driving stronger, more dynamic connections in the process. So how do we use these 5 binding values to build an unbreakable culture? Better yet, What are your black sheep values that make you a resilient leader? I can't wait for you to find out. How many people have ever read Simon Sinek's Start With Why? You don't start with why. That's not true. If you start with why before you define the what, your why is wrong 100% of the time. You have to define what matters most before you know what your why is. If you choose your why before you this is the things, these are my non-negotiables, your why is not correct. So the what is defining those things that are your non-negotiables. The why that you have is why you are going to do it, but the how is the mission, and the mission changes all the time. How I accomplish that changes with every conversation. It changes every day. It changes with every client or person that I come in contact with, because I can't treat you the same as I treat you or treat you. That's not it, right? You heard it earlier, it's the platinum rule. I need to treat you how you want to be treated, and you don't want to be treated the same as how she wants to be treated. And so the way that I accomplish it is through this. This is what you're looking at. It's what I bring to the table that is completely unique. It is the black sheep within me. You see, our values are sort of like the hit songs within us. And so if we're gonna take a look at a hit song, we have to sort of know there are only two reasons why songs become a hit, whether you realize that or not. Only two reasons. There's a bunch of science behind it, but rather than bore you with all the science, I thought I'd just show you. How about I got my first real 6-string, bought it at the 5 and dime. I played it till my fingers bled. Okay. We'll teach pitch lessons when we're done. How about this? I only wanna see you standing in that purple rain. That's my church right there. I'll tell you what. You are one leather buttless chaps away from an amazing show. It's next year. The reason that hit songs resonate is that they actually do something amazing, which is they connect our head and our heart. That's the songwriter's job, is to connect the head and the heart. So when your head and your heart connect, that's when the magic happens. And it's actually why, so those songs that I just played were written over 30 years ago. Some of you in this room were barely born 30 years ago, but you still remember the lyrics. Why is that? That's because when you first heard those songs, something amazing happened, and that's your head and your heart connected. And when your head and your heart connect, it engages your limbic brain, and your limbic brain is where all of your emotional long-term memory is stored, and that's why you can recall those lyrics written 30 years ago like that, and why you can't remember a single Justin Bieber lyric from today. Boom. Mic drop.
We have to start with our what. What are our non-negotiables? What are those things that no matter how much someone wants to try to influence us, they simply can't be changed? You see, I like to call those things our black sheep values. You see, I was 47 years old. I was 47 years old when somebody finally explained to me why farmers don't value black sheep like the rest of the flock. And when I found out, I was just blown away. You see, farmers don't value black sheep like the rest of the flock because a black sheep's wool cannot be dyed. 47 years to figure that out. Every black sheep is in essence 100% authentically original. So when I talk about these black sheep values, what I am referring to are those deeply held, non-negotiable values that no matter how much someone tries to influence or change you, they simply cannot be changed.
Question to you is, when you know what your values are, and this is where I had this out-of-body experience after I met Paula, I started to question to myself my core values: creativity, hope, impact, empathy, family, and authenticity. That's how I live my life. Every decision I make gets filtered through those 6 things. I started to ask myself, where's the proof? Where is the proof? If somebody followed me around for 24 hours, would they see proof of what I say matters most?